Hello guys, how are you all doing? This is Rob of Ro2R Review. Welcome back to the channel, and let's talk about this weird cloud save situation. So we're going to be discussing some of Nintendo's plans for their ability to allow us to save some of our game data and save data to the cloud that's going to be launching, of course, with their online service. Now, there's kind of a lot sort of circling around this topic. The main thing is, of course, as we all know, yesterday there was supposed to be a brand new Nintendo Direct, and for a reason I'm sure every single one of us are familiar with, unfortunately Nintendo chose to delay or postpone the Nintendo Direct. It's a very unfortunate situation. I've kind of decided so far, obviously, not to really cover that story or that news or discuss it on the channel for a variety of reasons. Partly, I'm actually kind of a little bit terrified of the reason that actually caused that, so that's one piece of it. Many other people have discussed it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with discussing it, so I do want to throw that out there. I don't think that anyone who's discussed it as a news story has done anything wrong or nefarious. I think it's totally fine. It was a very big deal, a very big story. It's a very unfortunate thing, and hopefully everything is working out in Japan. But through that, of course, with the delay of the Nintendo Direct, that's when we started to hear about, well, maybe they were going to be discussing some of their online plans. And with that, of course, comes more information, hopefully, about the cloud save data. And although we've all been waiting for official news from Nintendo as they take all the time that they need to recover from everything they could possibly be going on, that could be going on with them, I should say, we now have Game Informer having apparently discovered some information about a couple of games and how it relates to the ability to save to the cloud. So I first noticed this with a tweet from Game Informer that you can see here, where they basically mention there's a couple of games and some major games being listed even in their tweet, stating that apparently these games are not going to support cloud saves on the Nintendo Switch. And this, combined with all of the other controversy about Nintendo launching their first ever paid online service, is not the greatest news. A lot of people have been very upset about this, and definitely understandably, and that's really what I wanted to get into here. So I'm going to link the Game Informer article below, and I definitely recommend that you read it or skim through it. There's some pretty good information about what they essentially discovered. And, you know, it's very interesting because when you start to look at the list of games that apparently they noticed don't claim to support cloud saves, it is really surprising. I mean, the first and major thing we notice, and the first thing they even point out, is Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu. Like, that is surprising. I can't say that it's exactly disappointing solely because I'm not going to play those games. You guys obviously know that. I'm not really a Pokemon fan myself. It's not for me. So that doesn't necessarily affect the game I'm going to play, but it's very surprising. I mean, and to be clear, this is all based off of stuff that Game Informer and other people have noticed from the official, like, game pages on Nintendo's websites, where at the bottom of each page, it basically mentions that, you know, this game, that game, XYZ game doesn't support cloud saves. Nintendo themselves, other than some of this stuff on the website, haven't actually come out and outright confirmed this. I mean, there's really no reason to doubt it. This seems like it's all pretty true, but we should just, you know, I want to state that no one from Nintendo has said, this is the facts, these are the details, these games won't work with the cloud saves. Also, I guess across the board, I should also state for you guys that I'm even still not really personally sweating this too much. You've even heard me mention a few times in the last couple of weeks how much some of the detail and controversy around the online service isn't really affecting me. I'm not losing sleep over it, as I've said many times. It's just, it just kind of is what it is, and for the low price they're charging, while yes, they should have a more competitive service, when they're only charging 20 bucks a year, I think it's not necessarily accurate to hold them to as high of a standard. I personally think Microsoft and Sony are charging too much for their service, but regardless, they charge a very high price, and they offer some great things. Those are fine services, but I think when Nintendo chooses to literally price their service at 1/3 of the competition, I think that there's less of an obligation to do too many fancy things other than allow online play. So that's one of the reasons why I haven't been really freaking out over some of the controversies, like I said, and that even includes cloud saves, because I don't even know when I'm actually going to start to take advantage of those cloud saves. Maybe right away, maybe never. It just kind of is what it is. But it is still, you know, a controversy that I think is worthy of conversation, and people who have problems with it, which I know might be a lot of you guys, your opinion and your dissatisfaction with this does have merit, so I do see where you're coming from. And so if we bring it back to the games, like I was saying, the Let's Go Pokemon games, Eevee and Pikachu and all that stuff, that's kind of the big to-do here. And it's surprising for a few reasons. One, because I know that Pokemon fans aren't necessarily the most in love with these Let's Go games, but overall, if we're being real here, these games are going to be huge releases. These are two of the biggest releases Nintendo has for all of 2018. And I'm predicting that even all the Let's Go Pokemon haters are still going to end up picking up these games just to say they finally have a Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch while they wait for next year's game. So these are going to be huge releases that won't support Nintendo's brand new first ever paid online service cloud saves. And also, these are games that I think probably would require or really benefit from using cloud saves. Not to mention that, I mean, let's be real, guys. They're Nintendo games. I know that, like, Pokemon isn't exactly Nintendo's. It's like Game Freak and Niantic and the Monsters or Creatures Company and, all those different entities are wrapped up in it. But, this is an exclusive video game property to Nintendo. So essentially, this is Nintendo's game, or these games, I should say, are Nintendo's games. And to have these games not support that new cloud service is even more shocking. It's almost like Nintendo is missing a huge opportunity to justify and sell this online service by having one of their games, two of their games, I should say, not just one, but there's two of these games that would be able to support this service. It's like, why, Nintendo, do you not have these two concepts like working together? It just seems very strange, and I think that's why a lot of people are upset. A, because they're Pokemon fans, and B, because people do have high standards and are expecting a lot from Nintendo's online service. And even I'll admit, as somebody who's not upset about it, I will admit that there is a lot of things that Nintendo isn't properly delivering with the information we know about this service. There are more things they should be doing, and I mean, the voice chat thing, Lord almighty, don't even get me started. But the thing is, the cloud save game controversy doesn't even really stop there. Apparently there are more games that feature the same message about not using the cloud saves, including Splatoon 2, which is crazy because that is another 100% Nintendo first-party game. There ain't no one else involved with Splatoon other than Nintendo. This is a first-party franchise and a huge one of the biggest and best-selling games on the Switch, and this also won't use Nintendo's cloud save feature. Again, this is all purportedly, allegedly, based off of Game Informer's findings, as a reminder. Nintendo hasn't said one way or the other. But, again, I think we can all believe what's being said here, so it seems like, yeah, even Nintendo's Splatoon 2 also won't use the cloud saves. Another very curious choice. I mean, I have to ask, Nintendo, why are you taking two of the biggest exclusive or first-party games that you have, the Pokemon games on Splatoon, and not making them work with your own internal proprietary cloud save service that you are asking people to pay to use? It's very, very strange to me. And as much as I can tell you guys that I'm not going to lose sleep over this, that, and the other, and cloud saves, and Splatoon, Pokemon, whatever, there's no doubt that it doesn't seem like Nintendo is making a smart choice here, and it's super, super confusing. Oh, and it doesn't even end there. You thought third parties were safe? No. Third-party games apparently also have this same issue. There's quite a few here. Dark Souls Remastered, that one makes me really sad, and I'm a little bit nervous about that as a huge Dark Souls fan who's been waiting so long to pick up the damn Switch version of this game. A huge missed opportunity with a game that difficult to not allow cloud saves for Dark Souls Remastered, FIFA 19, NBA 2K19, and even Dead Cells. Dead Cells? No Dead Cells. Nintendo, you done forgot about how people want their online service and their cloud save ability delivered. This is one of those situations where the more you read about this and the more games I saw lobbed into this issue as Game Informer's article went on, I was like, wow, okay, yeah, there's a lot of games, first party and third party, including games like Dark Souls and Dead Cells that rely on a risk, reward, die, and lose everything roguelike kind of experience. And to not allow cloud saves for games like that more than any other game on this entire list I've talked about actually would benefit from cloud saves, it's definitely a miss. Again, I don't think this is like destroying their online service or suddenly I'm going to tell you, well, maybe you shouldn't sign up for it, because that's not personally how I feel, so that would be a lie. But dude, I mean, Nintendo, you're kind of misfiring on that. So at the end of the day, what does this really all mean? What is this telling us? Are we seeing evidence that Nintendo's online service, or even more specifically the cloud save service, is broken? Is that what this is telling us? That it's just busted, Nintendo screwed it up from the jump, and it's never going to be good, and yada yada? I'm going to tentatively say no, that's not the case. And the reason I say that is because, so in a world where this is the way it is, and it's always going to be this way, and more games will continue to come out, including Nintendo's games that won't support the cloud saves, then it would be a problem. And I would say, yes, this is a way to expose that Nintendo's online and cloud service is a little bit broken. But I honestly believe that this is maybe a temporary thing, or this is just a symptom of the launch of the online service and their new infrastructure and the cloud save servers and everything that Nintendo has never, ever done in over 30 years in the gaming industry. They've never done anything like this. It's their first time out, and I think that it might, and is probably just, like I said, a symptom or a growing pain, so to speak, of Nintendo basically flipping this switch and turning all this crap on at once. And, you know, a lot of it might not be working exactly the way it's supposed to right out of the gate. And that's even true for games. Video games launch that way nowadays too, from a variety of developers and console manufacturers. And, you know, nowadays it's common enough that I think the average person and gamer, you know, gives a lot of these companies a little bit of slack when a game launches or a console launches to get things patched and remedied and fixed, you know, via the internet. And maybe that's what Nintendo will be doing. And, you know, 6 or 7 months down the road, this is going to be just a problem of the past. And no new games will ever have this problem, and 100% of every game released, first party or third party, will take advantage of the cloud saves, and will get more features added to the online service, the kind of things that will continue to justify why Nintendo is charging us for the first time ever, and hopefully it'll all be good. That might not be the case. Let me be real with you guys, and I've said this a few times in the past as well. Nintendo, as much as I love them, they are not perfect. They mess things like this specifically up a lot. I mean, they still have issues with things like the YouTube scenario. There's a lot of things that Nintendo still continues to not get right, even though they're so successful right now. So yes, there's a chance that this continues to be an issue, and Nintendo never gets it figured out. But I am an optimist, you guys know that, and I think that it's fair to say more than likely Nintendo will make this all okay. And I mean, if they don't make this all okay, and this is just a permanent thing, and we'll always see the occasional game not support cloud saves, I mean, it's a problem, and it sucks, especially for those of you that want it, but I don't know, I guess let me even ask you guys, would that be the worst thing in the world? Would that be the ultimate devastator, the nail in the coffin for the online service, for you to give Nintendo your dollar to use the online service? If the cloud save thing is only, you know, 8 out of every 10 games use it, but those other 2 won't, what does that really mean to you? Consider this me kind of, I don't know, doing research with you guys, or asking you stuff that I wouldn't know because I have no other way to talk to you, you know? Like, I am curious how big of a problem this is for most people. You've heard me say that it's not the biggest problem to me, even though it is a strange and frustrating choice. But what about you guys, man? I really want to hear from you. You know, and I'm just going to remind you one last time, I think Nintendo will hopefully remedy this, and long term it's not going to be an issue. So we'll have to see what they do. Please discuss what you think about this, how much this is a problem for you, or if it's not a problem for you, or if you don't care, or if you care a lot about this. It'd be very interesting to hear what you guys have to say, but now you've heard what I have to say. Please share your opinions below. That is it for me today. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Ro2R Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.